Taman wiped the grease from his hands and looked at the broken pipe he had just fixed. It was the third repair today, and his back hurt from crawling through tight spaces. The colony station New Horizon was old, and someone had to keep it running. That someone was usually him. He stepped out of the maintenance tunnel and walked down the main corridor. People passed by without looking at him. They never looked at him. He was just the repair guy, the one who fixed things when they broke, nothing more. Through a window, he could see the stars. Humanity had reached them 50 years ago, joining something called the Galactic Coalition. It was supposed to be the greatest moment in human history, and maybe it was. But for Taman, and for many men like him, things had changed in ways nobody expected. The coalition was made of hundreds of alien species. Most of them had female leaders. Some had no gender at all. When they looked at human history, they saw wars started by men, violence caused by men, and systems built by men that hurt women. They decided that human women were more evolved and better suited for leadership and diplomacy. At first, it seemed like progress. Human women got important jobs in the coalition. They became ambassadors, scientists, and station commanders. Nobody complained about that, but slowly, human men started to disappear from important positions. They were pushed into labor jobs, maintenance work, and security details. The galaxy saw them as the primitive half of humanity. Taman reached the common area and saw his friend Hyun sitting at a table with 2 drinks. Hyun was also an engineer. They had known each other since training school on Earth. "You look tired," Hyun said, pushing a drink toward him. Taman sat down heavily. "Fix the water recycler again. 3rd time this month. Did anyone say thank you?" Taman laughed, but there was no happiness in it. Commander Ji-Yun sent a message saying the repair was noted in the log. Ji-Yun was the station administrator. She was also Taman's childhood friend from Korea. They had grown up in the same neighborhood, played together as kids. Now she sat in meetings with alien diplomats while he crawled through pipes. He did not blame her for her success. She had worked hard and earned her position, but sometimes he wondered if she even remembered who he was anymore. "I heard something interesting," Hyun said, lowering his voice. "You know the Ashkari?" Taman nodded. Everyone knew about the Ashkari. They were a warrior species, tall and strong, with silver-blue skin that glowed softly in the dark. Their women were famous throughout the galaxy as fierce fighters and honorable diplomats. "A delegation is coming here," Hyun continued. "Tomorrow. So they're probably here to talk, trade, with Ji-Yun. One, maybe. But I heard rumors from other colonies." Hyun leaned closer. "They say the Ashkari have been watching us. Watching human men specifically. They don't like how we're being treated." Taman frowned. "Why would they care? The Ashkari respect strength and skill. They don't care about gender politics. They think the coalition is wasting half of humanity's potential." Hyun shrugged. "Could be just rumors. But it's interesting, right?" Taman thought about it as he finished his drink. It was interesting, but he had learned not to hope for much. Nobody was coming to save human men. They had to save themselves. Somehow, the next morning, Taman was assigned to inspect the Ashkari ship when it docked. It was standard procedure. Every ship that arrived needed a safety check, and Taman was the best engineer on the station. The Ashkari vessel was beautiful. Its hull was smooth and dark, like polished stone, with lines of soft blue light running along its surface. Taman had never seen technology like this before. He walked through the ship slowly, checking systems and making notes on his tablet. "You have good eyes." The voice came from behind him. Taman turned and saw an Ashkari woman standing in the doorway. She was tall, almost 2 meters, with silver-blue skin covered in patterns that glowed faintly. Her eyes were large and dark, like pools of night sky. She wore armor that looked both elegant and deadly. "I'm sorry?" Taman said. "Your inspection," she said, walking closer. Most humans rush through it. They are afraid of us, or they don't care. But you look carefully. You found the microfracture in our secondary power coupling. Taman blinked. He had found it. A tiny crack that could have caused problems later. He had marked it in his report, but didn't expect anyone to notice. "It's my job," he said simply. "Yes," she said, and something in her voice made the word sound important. "I am Velira. I am Velira. I'm Velira. I'm Velira, Taman." She looked at him for a long moment. Her glowing markings pulsed slowly, like a heartbeat. Taman felt uncomfortable under her gaze, like she was seeing something inside him that he couldn't see himself. "Tell me, Taman," she said. "Are you happy here?" The question surprised him. Nobody asked him that. Nobody cared if he was happy. He was supposed to do his job and stay quiet. "I'm fine," he said. Velira tilted her head. "That is not what I asked." Before Taman could answer, his communicator beeped. Ji Yan's voice came through, telling him to finish the inspection quickly. The diplomatic meetings were about to start, and they needed the docking bay cleared. "I have to go," Taman said. Velira nodded but did not move from his path. "We will speak again, Taman." He walked past her, feeling her eyes on his back the whole way. Something strange had just happened, but he didn't understand what it was. He was just an engineer. Why would an Ashkari warrior care about him? That night, Taman couldn't sleep. He stood at the observation window in his quarters, looking at the stars. Somewhere out there, the Ashkari had built an empire based on honor and strength. Somewhere out there, people were respected for what they could do, not for what gender they were born as. He thought about Velira's question. Was he happy? The honest answer was no. He hadn't been happy for years. He woke up, fixed things, went to sleep, and repeated it the next day. Nobody saw him. Nobody valued him. He was invisible. But what could he do about it? He was just one man on a small station at the edge of human space. He had no power, no voice, no importance. He didn't know that everything was about to change. He didn't know that Velira had already made a decision about him. He didn't know that tomorrow, his entire life would be turned upside down. All he knew was that for the first time in years, someone had looked at him like he mattered. And that small thing, that simple moment of being seen, was enough to keep him awake until morning. The meeting hall was full of people. Humans sat on one side, Ashkari on the other. Ji Yun stood at the center table, discussing trade agreements with the Ashkari commander, an older warrior named Kessis Thal. Everything was normal. Everything was professional. Then Velira stood up. The room went quiet. In Ashkari culture, interrupting a commander was a serious thing. But Velira walked forward with complete confidence, her glowing markings bright against her silver-blue skin. "I invoke the right of recognition," she said, her voice clear and strong. Kesthal's eyes widened slightly, but he nodded. The other Ashkari in the room straightened in their seats, their attention fully focused on Velira. Ji Yan looked confused. "I'm sorry. What is happening?" Velira turned to face her. The right of recognition is an ancient Ashkari tradition. When a warrior sees someone of exceptional worth, someone whose value is not being honored, she may claim them as her bonded partner. The room buzzed with whispers. Ji Yun held up her hand for silence. "And who are you claiming?" Velira reached into her armor and pulled out a bracelet made of crystal that glowed with inner light. She walked to the back of the room, where the support staff stood, where Taman stood. She stopped in front of him and held out the bracelet. "I claim Taman," she said. "I recognize his worth." Taman felt like the floor had disappeared under his feet. Everyone was staring at him. Ji Yun's mouth hung open. Hyun, standing nearby, looked like he might faint. This is highly unusual," Ji Yun said, recovering her composure. "Taman is a citizen of humanity. You can't just claim him." Coalition law protects cultural bonding practices, Kesthal said calmly. The right of recognition is documented and legal. Valera has acted within her rights. But he's just... Ji-yun stopped herself. But everyone heard what she almost said. He's just a maintenance worker. The words cut Taemin deeper than he expected. He had known Ji-yun his whole life. They had been friends. And she saw him as... just... something. I don't understand, Taemin said, finally finding his voice. Why me? Kram. Valera looked at him with those deep, dark eyes. Yesterday, you found a flaw in our ship that our own engineers missed for 3 months. You did it in 20 minutes. You moved through our technology like you understood it naturally, even though you had never seen Ashkari systems before. That's just... I'm good at patterns, Taemin said. Yes, Valera said. You are. And you are wasted here. Your people do not see you. But I do. The next hour was chaos. Diplomats argued, lawyers checked documents, and Taemin sat in a small room waiting for someone to tell him what was happening to his life. Finally, Ji-yun came to see him. She looked tired and frustrated. There's nothing I can do, she said. The Ashkari bonding claim is protected. If you refuse, it could damage relations between humanity and their entire empire. So I have no choice? Ji-yun sat down across from him. For a moment, she looked like the girl he used to know, not the administrator she had become. There's a middle option, she said. A trial bonding period. 6 months. You live with her, learn about her culture. After 6 months, you can choose to make it permanent or end it. Live with her? She's an alien warrior. I fix pipes. Taemin. Ji-yun's voice softened. Maybe this isn't terrible. The Ashkari are respected throughout the galaxy. This could open doors for you. Doors you never opened, Taemin said quietly. Ji-yun flinched. That's not fair, isn't it? Taemin stood up. I've worked on this station for 5 years. I've saved it from 3 major failures. And you put my name in a log file. That alien warrior watched me work for 20 minutes and decided I had worth. Ji-yun had no answer. That evening, Valera came to his quarters. She did not knock. She simply walked in and began placing her belongings in his room. What are you doing? Taemin asked. We are bonded now, in trial form. I stay with you. She looked around his small room. This space is acceptable. Acceptable? It's tiny. I have lived in war camps smaller than this. She sat on his bed, testing its firmness. You are angry. I'm confused, Taemin said. I don't understand any of this. Yesterday I was invisible. Today an alien warrior is moving into my room because she thinks I'm valuable. Valera patted the bed beside her. After a moment, Taemin sat down. In Ashkari culture, she said, we believe that worth is not given by society. It exists inside a person. A true warrior can see it. When I watched you on my ship, I saw a fire inside you. Burning low. Almost dead. But still there. Your people have tried to put it out. But they failed. Why do you care? Because the Ashkari have been watching humanity since you joined the coalition. We see how you treat your men. It disgusts us. Her markings glowed brighter with emotion. Strength is not about gender. Skill is not about gender. Your species has forgotten this, and it makes you weaker. Taemin was quiet for a long time. Then he asked, what do you expect from me? I expect you to let me see who you really are. Not the quiet worker who hides his talents. Not the man who accepts being invisible. I want to meet the real Taemin. What if there's nothing special to see? Valera smiled, and it transformed her face from fierce to almost gentle. Then I will be the first person in your life to be wrong about you. But I don't think I am. Over the next few days, Taemin's life became strange. Valera followed him everywhere. When he worked, she watched. When he ate, she sat beside him. When other humans looked at him with confusion or pity, she stared back at them until they looked away. Hyun found the whole situation hilarious and terrifying. "So, you have an alien bodyguard now?" he asked during lunch. "I have something," Taemin said. "I'm not sure what." Valera, sitting on his other side, said nothing. But Taemin noticed that whenever anyone disrespected him, even in small ways, her hand moved toward her weapon. "She's going to kill someone eventually," Hyun whispered. "She hasn't yet." Yet. That's the scary word, Taemin. Yet. But despite everything, Taemin found himself feeling something he hadn't felt in years. He felt noticed. When he explained something technical, Valera listened with genuine interest. When he solved problems, she acknowledged his skill. When he was tired, she made sure he rested. It wasn't love, not yet. It wasn't even friendship. But it was recognition. And for a man who had been invisible for so long, that simple recognition felt like water in a desert. He didn't know where this strange path would lead. But for the first time, he was curious to find out. 3 weeks passed. Taemin and Valera developed a strange routine. In the mornings, she taught him Ashkari philosophy. In the evenings, he taught her about human culture. Neither of them expected to enjoy it as much as they did. "Strength is not about crushing your enemy," Valera said during one morning lesson. They stood in an empty cargo bay, practicing basic Ashkari movements. "It is about knowing your own worth so completely that nothing can shake it." Taemin tried to copy her stance. "That sounds nice in theory." "It is not theory. It is how I live." She adjusted his arm position. "When I walk into a room, I know exactly what I can do. I do not need others to tell me. Their opinions cannot add to my worth or take away from it." "That's easy for you to say. You're a warrior. You have power." Valera stopped and looked at him seriously. "The only difference is that my people celebrated my growth while yours ignored you." That evening, Taemin showed her Earth music. He played songs from Korea, old ballads his grandmother used to sing. He had never shared these with anyone on the station. They felt too personal, too soft for a world that saw him as nothing but a tool. Valera listened with her eyes closed. Her markings pulsed slowly in the dim light. "This is beautiful," she said when the song ended. "Why do you hide this part of yourself?" "Frode. It's not professional," Taemin said. "The coalition values efficiency, productivity. Art and music are seen as wasteful for someone in my position." "Your position?" Valera opened her eyes. "You mean your position as a man?" I mean my position as someone nobody expects anything from." Before she could respond, alarms started blaring throughout the station. Red lights flashed. A mechanical voice announced, "Life support failure in sectors 7 through 12. All personnel to emergency stations." Taemin ran. He knew the station's systems better than anyone. By the time he reached the main engineering hub, the situation was already critical. The air recycling system had failed, and carbon dioxide levels were rising in almost half the station. The engineering team was panicking. The chief engineer, a woman named Somin, was shouting orders that made no sense. She was trained in coalition standard systems, but New Horizon used older human technology. She had never bothered to learn how it actually worked. "We need to call coalition emergency services," Somin said. "They can send a repair ship." "That will take 6 hours," Taemin said. "We have maybe 2. Before people start dying." Somin glared at him. "Then what do you suggest?" Taemin looked at the diagnostic screens. His mind was already working, seeing patterns, finding solutions. The failure started in the backup processor. If we bypass it and route control through the secondary environmental hub, we can restore partial function to the affected sectors. "That's impossible. The secondary hub doesn't have the capacity. It does if we shut down non-essential systems and redirect power." Taemin was already moving to a console. "I need 3 people in maintenance tunnel B7. two at the power junction in Sector 4, and someone to manually control the oxygen flow valves in Sector 9. Salmon hesitated. Calling Coalition help was safe. It was protocol. If she followed Taemin's plan and it failed, she would be blamed. Do it, a voice said from behind them. Everyone turned. Valera stood in the doorway, her presence filling the room. This man knows what he is doing, she said. Follow his instructions. Whether it was fear of the alien warrior or desperation from the crisis, the team moved. Taemin coordinated everything, his voice calm and clear as he directed people through their tasks. He crawled through tunnels himself, fixed connections with his own hands, and solved problems faster than anyone could track. Valera watched him the entire time. She did not interfere. She did not help. She simply observed, and what she saw confirmed everything she had believed about him. 2 hours later, the air systems were stable. Not perfect, but stable enough that no one would die. The station breathed again. Taemin emerged from a maintenance tunnel, covered in grease and sweat. His team surrounded him, some crying with relief, others laughing from the released tension. For one beautiful moment, they looked at him like he mattered. Then Ji-yeon arrived with the official coalition observers. Excellent work, Chief Engineer Salmon, one of the observers said. Your quick thinking saved the station. Salmon opened her mouth, and Taemin waited. This was her chance to tell the truth, to give credit where it belonged. Thank you, she said. I'm glad my team performed well. The observers nodded and left to file their report. Salmon couldn't meet Taemin's eyes. Later that night, Taemin sat in his quarters, staring at nothing. Valera entered quietly and sat beside him. I watched you save 200 lives today, she said, and nobody will ever know. I know. She took his hand. Her skin was cool and smooth. My commander knows. Every Ashkari on this station knows. We will remember. Taemin felt something break inside him. Not painfully, but like a wall crumbling that had been standing too long. His eyes burned with tears he had held back for years. Why is it like this? He whispered. Why do they refuse to see us? Because seeing you means admitting they were wrong. Humans have spent 50 years telling the galaxy that your men were the problem. If they admit that you have value, they must admit that they have been wasting you, destroying you, erasing you. Valera's markings glowed softly. It is easier to stay blind. So, what do I do? Valera stood and walked to the window. Outside, against the stars, lights were moving. Ships were approaching. You asked once why the Ashkari care about human men, she said. I told you we find the situation disgusting. But there is more. Taemin joined her at the window. The lights were becoming clearer now. Dozens of ships, all bearing Ashkari markings. We have been planning something, Valera said. My people believe that humanity is making a terrible mistake, and that mistake will eventually hurt the entire galaxy. Healthy species do not throw away half their potential. We decided to do something about it. What kind of something? Valera turned to face him. Her eyes were intense, her markings bright. A rebellion, Taemin. Not with weapons, with recognition. We are going to force humanity to see what they have been ignoring, and we want you to help us. We have to Taemin with how you. We have to Taemin with how you. Taemin looked at the ships. His hands were shaking, but not from fear. From something that felt dangerously like hope. Tell me everything, he said. The Ashkari commander, Kesthal, stood before a room full of humans. Her presence was powerful, demanding attention without asking for it. Behind her, a screen showed faces of human men from across the galaxy. Engineers, scientists, doctors, artists, all of them working in positions far below their abilities. For 10 years we have watched, Kesthal said. We have documented, we have gathered evidence, and now we act. The room was divided. On one side sat human men from the station, their faces showing a mixture of hope and fear. On the other side sat human women, mostly administrators and diplomats, their expressions ranging from angry to confused. Ji-yun stood at the front, her arms crossed. This is interference in human internal affairs. The coalition has rules against this. The coalition has rules against many things, Kesthal replied calmly, including the systematic destruction of productive potential based on gender. Would you like to discuss which rules matter more? We are not destroying anyone. Men have opportunities. They simply need to work harder. End quote. A bitter laugh came from the human men's side. Taemin recognized the voice. It was Hyun. Work harder? Hyun stood up. I graduated top of my class in engineering school. Top of everyone. Not just men. Do you know who got the leadership position? A woman who finished 20th, because she was more diplomatic and better suited for coalition relations. Other men started speaking, sharing their stories. A doctor who was demoted because his female supervisor found him intimidating. A teacher who was fired because parents complained about a man being around their children. A pilot who was grounded because his skills made female colleagues uncomfortable. The stories poured out like water from a broken dam. Years of silence, years of swallowing unfairness, years of being told they were imagining things. Now, in this room, with the Ashkari watching, they finally spoke. Velira stood beside Taemin, her hand resting on his shoulder. Do you see now? She said quietly. This is not just your story. It is the story of millions. Kesthal raised her hand, and the room fell silent. The Ashkari Empire is prepared to offer positions, training, and full recognition to any human male who wishes to join us. We will use their skills, we will value their contributions, and we will treat them as equals. You're trying to steal our population, Ji-yun said. We are offering freedom to the unfree. There is a difference. Kesthal's eyes were cold. If humanity valued these men, they would have no reason to leave. Their departure will be your failure, not our crime. After the meeting, the station became a battleground of opinions. Human women argued among themselves. Some defended the current system. Others admitted that perhaps things had gone too far. A few quietly apologized to male friends and family members. The men were equally divided. Some were eager to leave, to start fresh in a society that would recognize them. Others were suspicious. Were the Ashkari really any better? Or was this just another kind of ownership? Taemin sat in the common area, watching the chaos. Ji-yun found him there. Can we talk? She asked. He nodded, and she sat across from him. For a long moment, neither spoke. I didn't know it was this bad, Ji-yun finally said. I swear, Taemin. How could you not know? You've known me my whole life. I knew you were unhappy, I thought. She stopped, looking ashamed. I thought you were just struggling to adapt. I thought if you worked harder, things would get better. That's what I was told. That's what everyone said. Everyone who was winning said that. The people losing had different opinions. Ji-yun's eyes filled with tears. I'm sorry. I don't know what else to say. Taemin looked at her. His childhood friend. The girl who used to share her lunch with him when he forgot his. The woman who had risen so high while he stayed at the bottom. I know you're sorry, he said. But sorry doesn't change anything. The Ashkari are offering me something I've never had. A chance to be seen. A chance to matter. You matter to me. Do I? When was the last time you asked about my life? My dreams? My feelings? He shook his head. You sent me status reports, Ji-yun. Like I was a machine. Before she could respond, alarms sounded again. But this time, they weren't for station emergencies. They were for incoming ships. Taemin ran to the observation deck with Velira beside him. What he saw made his stomach drop. A massive fleet had arrived. Warships marked with the symbol of the Hive Collective. The Hive was one of the most powerful species in the coalition. They had no individuals, only a shared consciousness that thought of other species as resources. And they were not happy about the Ashkari's plans. A booming voice came through the station's communication system. "This is Drone Tix, Speaker of the Hive. The Ashkari extraction of human labor assets violates coalition agreements. All claimed humans must be returned to human authority immediately." "Labor assets," Velira said, her voice filled with disgust. "They speak of your people like tools." Kessisthal appeared on the observation deck, her face grim. "The Hive has significant investment in human colonies. They benefit from cheap male labor. They will not let us take that away without a fight." "Then we fight," another Ashkari said. "No." Taman surprised himself by speaking. Everyone turned to look at him. "If we fight, people die. And then humanity will blame the Ashkari. They'll say you started a war over us. Nothing will change." "Then what do you suggest?" Kesthal asked, her tone respectful. Taman's mind was racing, seeing patterns, finding solutions, just like he did with machines. "The Hive called us labor assets. The Coalition claims to believe in equality and rights. If we can speak to the Coalition Assembly, if we can show them what's really happening, we put them in an impossible position. Either they admit the truth, or they prove that their values are lies." "The Hive will not allow us to reach the Assembly," Velira said. "They will if humanity requests it. If Ji-Yun requests it." Taman looked at his old friend, who had followed them to the deck. "You're a recognized diplomat. You can call for an emergency session." Ji-Yun hesitated. Calling for a session would mean officially recognizing that there was a problem. It would mean admitting that humanity had failed its men. It would damage careers, including hers. But she was looking at Taman differently now. Seeing him, maybe for the first time in years. "If I do this," she said slowly, "there's no going back. Everything changes." "Things need to change," Taman said. "That's the whole point." Ji-Yun took a deep breath. Then she activated her diplomatic communicator. "This is Administrator Ji-Yun of New Horizon Station. I am invoking my right to call an emergency coalition assembly session. The topic: human gender equality and labor practices." The channel went silent. Then a response came from the coalition headquarters. "Request acknowledged. The assembly will convene in 48 hours. Taman looked at Velira. She was smiling, her markings glowing bright with pride. "You did it," she said. "You found a way." "I found a door," Taman corrected. "Now I have to walk through it. 48 hours. He had 48 hours to prepare a speech that could change humanity's future. 48 hours to find words that would make the galaxy see what it had been ignoring. The pressure was enormous. The fear was real. But for the first time in his life, Taman felt like he was exactly where he was supposed to be, and he was not alone. The Coalition Assembly Hall was the largest room Taman had ever seen. Thousands of seats rose in circular tiers, filled with representatives from hundreds of species. Screens floated in the air, translating his words into 1,000 languages. The eyes of the galaxy were watching. Taman stood at the center podium. His hands trembled slightly, but his voice was steady when he spoke. "Thank you for allowing me to address this assembly. My name is Taman. I am a human male. And I want to ask you a simple question. What do you see when you look at me?" The hall was silent. Taman continued. 50 years ago, humanity joined the coalition. It was the greatest moment in our history. We were told we would be treated fairly, judged by our abilities, valued for our contributions. But that didn't happen for all of us. He pressed a button, and images appeared on the floating screens. Charts showing employment rates, stories from human men across the galaxy, statistics that painted a picture of systematic exclusion. When the coalition looked at human history, you saw violence, wars, oppression. You blamed human men for these failures, and you decided that human women were more evolved. Maybe you were trying to help. Maybe you thought you were fixing us. But you didn't fix anything. You just created a new kind of unfairness. And, maybe, you just created a new kind of unfairness. A murmur rippled through the assembly. Some species looked uncomfortable. Others looked curious. The hive representatives remained perfectly still. I am an engineer, Taman said. I graduated with the highest marks in my training class. I have saved my station from 3 major system failures. Last week, I prevented 200 people from dying when our life support failed. Do you know what my official title is? Maintenance Technician, Grade 3. The lowest possible rank. He looked directly at the human delegation. Ji-yeon sat among them, her face pale. I don't blame human women for their success. They earned their positions. They worked hard. But we worked hard too. And somewhere along the way, working hard stopped being enough for us. We were told to be quiet, to accept our place, to be grateful for whatever scraps we were given. Taman's voice grew stronger. I'm not here to ask for pity. I'm not here to attack anyone. I'm here to ask this assembly a question. Do your values mean anything? He pointed at the coalition charter displayed on the wall. Your charter says that all sentient beings have equal worth. It says that discrimination based on physical characteristics is wrong. It says that potential must be recognized and nurtured, not wasted and destroyed. He paused, letting the words sink in. Half of humanity's potential is being wasted. Right now, across your colonies, millions of human men are working below their abilities because no one will give them a chance. Doctors working as orderlies, engineers working as cleaners, scientists working as laborers. Not because they lack skill, but because they are male. The hive speaker, Drone Ticks, rose to object. The human male labor force is efficiently allocated. Production metrics are satisfactory. HT. Production metrics, Taman repeated. You speak of us like machines. But we are not machines. We are people. We have dreams and hopes and talents. And you are crushing all of it. Because it's convenient. He turned back to the assembly. The Ashkari offered us recognition. They saw our worth when our own people refused to see it. And now, the hive threatens war to keep us in our place. Ask yourselves, if the coalition truly believes in equality, why are you letting this happen? The assembly erupted in debate. Species shouted at each other. Accusations flew. But Taman noticed something important. Many were nodding. Many looked troubled. The truth, once spoken, was hard to ignore. After hours of heated discussion, the coalition voted. The result was not perfect, but it was a start. Humanity was ordered to conduct a full investigation into gender-based labor discrimination. Economic sanctions would follow if changes were not made. And the Ashkari were officially permitted to offer opportunities to any human who wished to accept them. The hive protested, but they were outvoted. Their cheap labor source was no longer guaranteed. After the assembly, Taman returned to New Horizon with Velira beside him. The station felt different now. People looked at him differently. Some with respect, some with anger, many with shame. Ji-yeon found him in his quarters. That was brave, she said. What you did, it was necessary. She sat down, looking exhausted. I've been thinking about everything you said, about how I treated you, about how all of us treated men like you. She took a deep breath. You were right. I stopped seeing you as a person. I saw you as a category, a problem, something to manage. And now I see you. Her eyes were wet with tears. I see my friend, the boy who used to make me laugh, the man who saved our station. I'm so sorry it took this long. Taman reached out and took her hand. We can't change the past, but we can change what comes next. Over the following weeks, things began to shift. It was slow and messy. Some people resisted change. Others embraced it too quickly and made new mistakes. But conversations were happening. Real conversations, between men and women, about how to build something better. Hyun accepted a position with the Ashkari as an advanced engineering apprentice. Others followed him, choosing new paths in a society that valued them. But many men chose to stay, to work within human society and help it grow. Both choices were respected. That was the point. Taemin stood at the observation deck, watching Hyun's transport ship depart. "You could have gone with him," she said. "I know. But my work is here. Someone needs to help humanity figure this out." He looked at her. "Besides, I have a bonding to honor." Velira's markings glowed warmly. "You accept the bond? Fully?" "I do." He turned to face her completely. "Not because I'm running away from humanity. Not because I want to escape. I accept because you saw me when no one else did. You believed in me when I had stopped believing in myself. That means something." Velira touched his face gently. "Among my people, a bond is a partnership of equals. I will never try to own you or control you. I will only stand beside you. That's all I've ever wanted. Someone to stand beside." They kissed as the stars wheeled slowly outside the window. A human man and an alien warrior, bound together by something stronger than politics or culture. Bound by recognition. Months later, Taemin stood in a new classroom on New Horizon. The station had become a training center, a place where humans and Ashkari learned together. His students were mixed, men and women, humans and aliens, all working side by side. He was teaching them about patterns, about seeing what others missed, about finding value in unexpected places. At the back of the room, Velira watched him work. Her eyes glowed with pride and love. He caught her gaze and smiled. "The strongest systems," he told his students, "are the ones that use all their resources. Not half, not most. All. When you waste potential, you weaken everything." A young human man raised his hand. He looked nervous, uncertain. The kind of boy Taemin used to be. "Sir, do you really think things will get better for people like us?" Taemin looked at him. At all of them. The uncertain ones. The hopeful ones. The ones who were just beginning to believe that they mattered. "I think," he said slowly, "that change starts with being seen. It starts with one person recognizing another person's worth. It spreads from there, one recognition at a time, until the whole galaxy has to look." He glanced at Velira, then back at his students. They said human men were underappreciated. They were right. But once we were seen, once we were truly recognized, everything changed. And it will keep changing, as long as we keep demanding to be seen. The young man nodded, sitting up straighter. A small fire lit in his eyes. The same fire that Velira had seen in Taemin, that first day on her ship. Worth, after all, was not something given. It was something that existed inside, waiting to be recognized. And once it was seen, nothing could ever make it invisible again. That was humanity's lesson. That was their strength. And finally, the galaxy understood. They were worthy of the stars. All of them.